Hey, what's going on, fight fans? Manny here once again. Welcome to Boxing Cafe. Thank you guys for tuning in. On today's video, I'm going to be previewing tomorrow night's fight card. We have 4 fights in the pay-per-view, and then we also have preliminary fights that are going to be on Fox Sports. So at 7 o'clock, tune in for that. And then, of course, at 9 o'clock is the big pay-per-view. I'm going to go over each one of the matches, discuss a little bit about the fighters, what I like, what I don't like, what I'm looking forward to, so on and so forth. Make sure you drop a like before I get started. Comment down below. Let me know your thought process. What do you like? Who do you like? What fights are you looking forward to? Just chime in. Let's have a discussion. Let's discuss the events tomorrow. I will also be back on Monday with a recap of the events that happen tomorrow night. So make sure you tune in for that. Make sure you subscribe so you won't miss out on that. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to also put on your notification bells. This way you'll be alerted right away when those videos go up or when any fight highlights go up, because I will put up some fight highlights as well here. All my socials are in the description down below. So if you want to follow me on TikTok or Instagram, you can do that. That information is down below. Let's get right to it, man. So we got a heck of a fight card tomorrow, and I'd be honest with you, right off the jump, I believe a lot of these fights are going to be very competitive, and they're very close. A lot of styles are similar. A lot of guys are bangers. There's some guys that can box and bang, so on and so forth. I think they really did a good job of matching up some of these fighters. This is going to be a pretty decent card. I'll be surprised if there's a bunch of knockouts all over the place. But then again, in boxing, anything can happen. As we all know, anything can happen in a square circle. So we're going to start off with the preliminary fights. They're going to be on Fox Sports starting at 7 o'clock. You got 2 fights there. At least that's what they have here on the website. You got Cowboy Carl from Texas going up against Omar Juarez. And then after that, you got Abel Ramos, who's a pretty good fighter, tough guy too, is going to fight Luke Santa Maria. So I'm going to discuss the first fight that's going to go on. It's a 10-round fight. It's a super lightweight bout. Ryan Cowboy Carl comes in here at 19-3 with 12 knockouts. He's 30 years old. He's from Houston, Texas, and he's a tough dude. There's no hands up, hands down. He's a tough guy. He can take some shots. He's rough. He likes to mix it up. His style is, one that he fires a lot of punches. He can take a couple good punches. It takes a lot to take him out. I think he's going to be this. He's going to make it rough. This is going to be a challenge, no doubt, for Omar Juarez. First things first, Juarez is only 22 years old. He's a young guy. He's an up-and-coming prospect. So he's the one that we really want to focus on here, where Carl is really just one of those guys that it's not quite there, but he could be a real pain in the rear to most boxers that fight him, because he is that tough. And he's also from Texas. He has a good left hook. He moves pretty well, in my opinion, and he's not afraid to mix it up. That's the beauty of Carl. When you look at Omar Juarez, he's a young kid, man. He's 22 years old. He's an up-and-coming prospect. He's also from Texas, from Brownsville, Texas. I'm sure he probably knows who Carl is. I wouldn't even be surprised if these guys have probably sparred. I don't think they fought each other in the amateur ranks because of the age the difference, being that Carl is about almost 8-9 years older than him. But going back to Juarez, good fighter, 12-1. He has 5 KOs. Doesn't have a lot of punching power, at least as of yet, in his matches. Good fighter, can punch. He can counter punch as well. He's a good counter puncher. He goes to the body really well. That I really like in his last 2 fights that I saw from him. He can hurt people with either one of his hands. There are some times that he looks like he's going to, he looks a little bit slow, but he's definitely someone that can be really, really tough. He has big blows. I like him. I was watching him. He did have a close decision where he actually lost unanimously, but it was a close fight. He did lose a close decision to Lopez just last year. And of course, with any, this obviously is a setback for him, but being young and only being as young as he is, and sometimes you got to take a loss, and hey, if you can take a loss and you can learn from it, fantastic. I expect him to bounce back here. There's nothing better than having a setback, because as the old saying is, with the setback you always have a greater comeback. So we will see what he can do tomorrow night. Omar Juarez. Carl is physical, and he's tough and relentless. My only concern with that is that Carl could come in there, really make it physical, really make it a tough fight for him. And if he cannot get himself going early, I think he needs to get out early, set himself, set the pace, get off first. He will have a better chance, because with accumulation of punches on Carl is what you're going to need. I haven't seen him really get knocked down really easily with just one punch. It's been an accumulation of hard punches on Carl that has taken him out. So Omar Juarez, definitely like him. He's someone I'm watching. I think everybody should be, keeping him on their radar. So that's that first bout. I give the edge here to the young guy if he can get through. But again, anything can happen. This could be a pretty tough fight. This is a challenge for Omar. If he can get through Ryan Carl, then he's on his way, to bigger and better things. In the second preliminary fight is the main fight of the 7 o'clock showings, and that's Abel Ramos versus Luke Santamaria. And I tell you, I've seen Abel fight his last 2 or 3 fights, and he's a tough guy, man. He's tough. He could throw some punches. He comes in here 27-4 with 2 draws, 21 knockouts. He's from Casa Grande, Arizona. He is actually on an 8-fight win streak here, as I tallied up. Ramos is very good inside fighter. He definitely, he likes mixing it up. Can't fight off the ropes well, too. He does have some pop with his hands. Did get a nice win over Omar Figueroa. Figueroa is an awkward fighter, very all over the place. It just makes it really difficult to hit him and make it difficult for you to set yourself up for your punches, but he did well in staying and pressing with him, and he eventually got him out. I don't like so much of his looping punches. He throws a couple of looping punches, leaves himself open a little bit. If he can definitely clean that up a little bit here, going into this next match, I think that he'll be just fine. So I believe he has the advantage in this fight. I like him here at 27-4-2 with 21 knockouts. He definitely has some pop. He's going up against a guy who is, fairly young as well, Santamaria. He's from Garden Grove, California. 12 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. Only 7 knockouts. He is a very awkward, fighter. That's for sure. He has some speed, can put punches together nicely. He switches, from orthodox to southpaw, so he's very, very good with that. He can switch it up on you. I don't really like the way he gets a little wild at times, so that's a concern for me. He leaves himself open when he gets all wild like that, so that's a concern going into this fight. With Abel, you cannot get that wild and crazy that you leave yourself exposed. So I think that that's something that he's got to be careful with. I give the edge in this fight, obviously, to Abel Ramos. I do expect the fight to be a little competitive, but I think Abel is a better fighter, and I think at some point he will be able to take care of business and get rid of Luke Santamaria. That's fight 2. So and then we go over to the main events. And let me know what you guys think about these 2 fights. Who you like, what kind of style, so on and so forth. Make sure you comment down below. We go over now to the pay-per-views. I mean, man, they actually are 4 pretty nice fights, man. I think every one of them could be pretty competitive all the way through. I think they did a heck of a job of actually promoting and putting these fights together. The first pay-per-view, you got Carlos Castro going up against the former 2-weight class world champion Luis Nery. This should be an interesting fight. The only thing is that Nery has been champion before, and he's actually been taking some fights as of late. He's actually looked not as great as he should, or as good as he had been. But we're going at Nery here, man. Good fighter. He's a southpaw. Has a little bit of pop. He's still young, though. He's only like 27, 28 years old. Did have a rough fight with Brandon Figueroa. He spent too much time on the ropes on that fight, if you saw that fight. And that was definitely, I think, his demise. So he got to stay away from the ropes when it's going to catch up to him on the inside. He needs to come in and be able to get off and, get off his punches and start his offense first. Sometimes he's a little bit of a late starter. And if he stays away from the ropes and he can make adjustments, you never know. Nery could actually make this fight very, very interesting. Overall, he can do. I do believe that if he's able to stay off the ropes, be able to keep the fight a little bit outside and just work in and out in the middle of the ring, he gives himself a better chance to be successful. Carlos Castro is an up-and-coming, prospect, 27-0. He has 12 knockouts. Doesn't have a huge big punch, but he definitely can fight and put punches together. This is a 10-round featherweight matchup. He is from Phoenix, Arizona. He's 27-0 with 12 knockouts. And like I said, good fighter. We need to see, look, he needs to improve on getting off early. If he can do that, sometimes a little bit of a slow fighter, slow start. And he also looks kind of like slow-mo sometimes with his punches. He doesn't seem to have great speed, but he definitely has some pop. He definitely has some pop with his left hook. I see that, even though he doesn't have a lot of knockouts. His fighting pop. So if he can improve on his defense and he can fight in the box, listen, he's another thing about Castro is he likes fighting in a small little box. I mean, it's like if you had like a sidewalk piece in Brooklyn, like where I grew up at, and somebody tells you, let's just get in this box here, he can fight in that box all day long. He likes being like that. So in the box is something that he likes. He likes being up close, getting off his punches, got some hooks, got some left hooks. He likes going to the body. When he fought Escando, he got hit with a lot of punches. So he definitely got to clean that up. He definitely was exposing himself too much to try to get to Escando, and that almost cost him the fight. So he's got to improve in that. But Castro at 27-0 with 12 knockouts, he's definitely is going to be an interesting fight tomorrow. I think this is tomorrow night. This fight is a pretty interesting fight to watch, and it's also going to be a little bit of a tough one for him if he doesn't do the right thing. But other than that, if he does, he should have, he should be able to get through on decision and maybe possibly even a knockout. Second pay-per-view of the night, you got Ramos versus Hernandez. And this young guy, man, Jesus Ramos is another guy. He's coming in here 17-0 with 14 KOs. This is for 10 rounds in the super welterweight division. A good young prospect. He's only 20. Good up. He has in the super welterweight prospect. He has 14 KOs, so we know he has some pop at 17-0 with 14 knockouts. In his last fight when Mendoza came in there 19-1 with 13 knockouts, and he just totally dominated the whole fight and demolished this guy. He moves very well, can throw punches in bunches, goes to the body very, very well. So Ramos does, puts punches well together, does have a nice right hook because he's a southpaw. Like I said before, he does look like at times that he's looking like he's going pretty slow, but overall wise, he definitely has a little bit of pop in his mitts, because with 14 knockouts, he can definitely hit. I do give him the advantage in this fight tomorrow over Hernandez, because Hernandez is more of a guy that's, I wouldn't say a journeyman, but he's a tough guy. This guy's relentless. He just keeps coming. It's going to be a test for Ramos, but I think his just heavy-handedness is going to eventually, be the demise to Hernandez. Hernandez coming here 13-4 with 6 knockouts. He's from Stockton, California, and he's a southpaw. He's not a big puncher, as we know, with 6 knockouts in 17 fights. Needs to throw a lot of punches. He's, to hopefully outpone his opponent. He's one of those guys got to have a lot of offense to be able to get out a lot of punches. He did have a big upset against Julian Williams last year, which was definitely a surprise. And it was just more so that he was just kept outworking him. He just kept punching him, and he can take some shots. So Ramos is going to have to put some big blows on him to take him out. But I really do believe Ramos will get to him and take him out. But Hernandez is not going to be easy guy to just maul over. Hernandez just movable, man. He can take a shot, and he will get some shots tomorrow against Ramos. If he can establish himself on the outside a little bit more versus Hernandez, I think that he may make this fight a little interesting. But he's going to be one that's just relentless. He just wants to keep coming, and you let me know what you think. But I think that Ramos definitely has the upper hand here in this matchup going up against Hernandez. So this is another guy, Hernandez, that likes to fight really, really up close and have that inside fighting. He likes going downstairs and upstairs fairly well, but he likes to be there in the trenches. And I tell you, that would be a bad maneuver against Ramos, who's a little more heavy-handed. But we'll see what his whole approach is tomorrow and his strategy. We go over to the third fight of the night, which is the co-main event, the co-feature. You got 4-time world champion Leo Santa Cruz going up against Keenan Cabral, on a 10-round super featherweight match. And we all know how tough of a fighter Leo Santa Cruz is. He's one of the most workaholic fighters in the game of boxing, because this guy is relentless, could take some punches. Granted, he's coming off a big loss from Gervonta Davis, devastating loss in a pretty good matchup. He was starting to get himself going in that match, and then all of a sudden he got caught. He's got to stay away from the ropes. He has a tendency getting into the ropes, but he likes mixing it up. A lot of energy, and you gotta admire that from Santa Cruz. A lot of heart, but he definitely don't want to be in the ropes getting banged up. Not that Cabral is a huge puncher, but he can definitely punch. So but looking back at Santa Cruz, man, tough fighter, definitely moves well, can box, can slug. He has excellent reach, for his size, and of course in his division, he's not afraid to mix it up. Got a good counter punch, has a high motor, as we all know. He can definitely keep going. He's best. Sometimes his best fighting is on the inside, but he likes to be in the inside more so off the ropes. Inside, center of the ring, stay in the box, and then you can definitely get your work in. He definitely has a high fucking damn, energy count, man. This guy can definitely go. He has a high motor. Needs to stay off the ropes, like I said, and he definitely keep his distance. I feel that if he stays in the center of the ring and he really dedicates to just staying in the center of the ring, staying more in the box, giving yourself a little bit of distance when he needs to. He has a long reach, so he could be able to tattoo with some left and rights. He could put himself in a position to get ahead and pull out a victory against Carvajal here. Carvajal, who likes to be on the outside, this is going to be tough, So if Carvajal could establish himself and be more of a boxer, puncher in this matchup against Santa Cruz, it gives him an advantage. But I think Santa Cruz needs to be more of a puncher, get inside, mix it up, work on your counters, and make sure that you work up, on top, upstairs and downstairs. If he can do that, he will have a better chance of wearing down Carvajal and taking him out. I think this would be interesting. Keenan Carvajal, 23-2-1 with 15 knockouts. He's from Phoenix, Arizona. He's lanky, has good reach. To me, at times he kind of looks robotic. I don't know if you guys feel about that. You feel the same way about that, but I'm really not big on him. He's a little bit of a slow starter. He does have a good left hook. I don't feel he moves pretty well, laterally as a fighter. I only see him, I only actually have seen him only fight one time before, so I don't know a whole lot about him. But from what I saw, that's what I'm basing this on, where I've seen Santa Cruz fight, for several years now. I've seen a bunch of his fights. It's going to be a tough matchup for Carvajal, but at the same time, anything can happen in the ring. Santa Cruz, we want to see if he can definitely bounce back after that devastating knockout from Tank Davis. If he can do that, I always look at that when fighters are coming back after a loss. Can they rebound, get back in there, look comfortable, get ahead, establish their strategy, and actually pull out a victory? If he can do that, Santa Cruz today, he'll be on his way to possibly getting more title opportunities, because he's a guy that's capable of winning a championship any given time. So I give the advantage to Santa Cruz here. I think that this is going to be a fairly decent fight. I think if Santa Cruz can get himself established in the middle of the ring, get a little bit of distance, work on wearing down Carvajal, maybe within 6 or 7 rounds, he might be able to, get around to taking Carvajal out of here. And then, of course, the main event, we got Thurman versus Barrios, and I think this is going to be a good fight. Barrios is another young, upcoming guy who's fought, is fighting very well. He's coming off a devastating loss, to Davis as well. So Davis has taken out Barrios, and he's also taken out Santa Cruz over the last few fights. So these are guys that, they need to rebound. We're going to see if he can come back from this day. And the beauty about the main event is that both guys have a couple of things, going in a way that we would like to see how they respond. Keith Thurman, of course, hasn't fought in 2.5 years. He's had a wrist injury there or whatever, some sort of injury that he's had for about 3 years. He claims everything is healthy now, but his last fight was 2.5 years ago, and it was a loss to Manny Pacquiao, who Manny Pacquiao now is a retired fighter. And that means when he lost to Pacquiao, Pacquiao was already in his 40s, So tough loss for Keith Thurman in that matchup. I can't wait to see how he responds after 2.5 years layoff, and of course, having that devastating loss. How is he going to get back in the ring and reestablish himself back in the welterweight division? While Barrios lost to Tank Davis, and he's also being challenged here. He is stepping up. He is a 140 pounder who has the frame and size to obviously fill out the 147. So 147 is not going to be a problem for him. He's probably going to come in at 146, 147 for this matchup, and he'll be fine. But it's the first time I believe he's coming up to this weight class as far as fighting someone at this weight class, where Thurman is a natural welterweight. So that's going to be the challenge for Barrios. Not only the loss to Davis and how he rebounds from it, but also moving up and fighting. And you got to give him credit, man. He's got a lot of balls, a lot of kudos to come up and fight Thurman, but he's doing it at the right time, where Thurman has just recently lost a fight and it's been 2.5 year layoff, so he might catch him off guard. If Thurman was to lose a second fight here in a row, and especially over a 2.5 year span, it doesn't look good for, granted he's 33, he still have time to get back into the welterweight division and win a title again, but it's going to be very tough if he loses to Barrios. And of course, Barrios will rock it right over and put himself in position for a title shot. So this is going to be a great matchup. Just a little bit more on Barrios, 5'11", 147-pound, coming in with a 71-inch reach advantage. 71-inch reach definitely is an advantage for him. The only concern is that he is coming up from 140 to 146, 147. So we have to see. But he has the frame to fill out. So I think that he's going to be just fine. He's a good fighter, good counter puncher, has a nice left hook. He's very quick and sneaky. I love the way he works upstairs and downstairs because he mixes it up very well. Can definitely get busy on the inside with speed. So I mean, he has good lateral movement. So I think this is a tough matchup for Thurman. But then again, comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this matchup, because I think it's going to be a great matchup, and it's just a matter of who is going to be able to establish their game and get off and be offensive and dictate the pace. And and that's going to be a concern here. Can Thurman do it after 2.5 years and a loss to Manny Pacquiao? Can Barrios do it moving up 6-7 pounds and after having a devastating loss to having his first loss of his career to Tank Davis? So both coming out of losses, and one guy moving up in weight. We're going to have to wait to see, and another guy in a 2.5-year layoff. So that's my only concern with there. Where the only concerns for me with Barrios is him moving up 6-7 pounds after a loss to Gervonta Davis. But I think because he has a lanky frame, 5'11", at 5'11", he can literally move all the way up to middleweight. So he has the frame and the body, at least the height and the reach, to be able to go through multiple weight classes here as he progresses in his career. But obviously, take care of things first. Get your 27th win tomorrow if you can. And then when we go to Keith Thurman, 29-1. Like I said before, his last fight 2.5 years ago was a loss to now retired Manny Pacquiao. And that's a long layoff. That's a long time, but he's had some injuries. And, of course, he needed time to recoup from the injuries and put himself in position to come back. If this is the time for him to come back, then one time Keith Thurman will be back on track tomorrow night. We'll see. We know he's a good fighter. He could definitely fight from the inside, outside. He definitely moves well around the ring as well. My thoughts, are basically what I just said a little while ago. It's just a matter of how he's going to rebound after his devastating loss. So if he can come back from that, I think there'll be a really, really interesting fight. I don't know. I don't have a pick 'em here. I think it's going to be a close fight. But I think if whoever establishes themselves first, offensively, dictates the pace, is able to get inside a little bit and rough one person more so than the other, is probably going to be the one that's going to get a little bit ahead in this game. But if they stay boxing from the outside, boxing-wise, Keith can definitely box for 12 rounds, and I don't see no reason why Mario can do the same. So this could be a very close fight, but I don't really have a favorite here. I just again, whoever can establish themselves, I think that's the one guy that might be able to have the upper hand. Defensively, both guys have pretty decent defense. Keith didn't look as good defensively in his fight with Porter. He took a lot of shots, but he did fairly well. He was able to rebound. He was able to stay in the trenches, and Porter was very rugged and very physical with him. Whereas Manny Pacquiao, him, he's very awkward. He throws punches from all kind of angles. So I don't, so he's been able to see that kind of pressured fight. I don't think Barrios is going to be one, but I think if Barrios comes out with that kind of a game plan, he might be able to surprise some people and surprise Thurman. So we'll see if he picks up anything from the Pacquiao fight and from the Porter fight, where both Pacquiao and Porter were kind of like pretty much all over the place, giving Thurman a lot of angles and making it very difficult, even though Thurman pulled out his fight against Porter. So that's pretty much it, man. That's where I'm at. That's my thought process going into the fights. I think they're all going to be very competitive fights. It's just a matter of, who is able to get off first, who's able to dictate and set the pace on these fights. Overall, a lot of them are very good counter punchers. Pretty much all these fighters are pretty good. Some of these fights are like tailor-made. They got like kind of similar styles. So, styles makes fights. That's going to be really intriguing tomorrow. I think that we're going to get a nice card here. We're going to get 3 or 4 nice fights out of these 6. So enjoy the fights, man. I'm going to have a recap, talk a little bit about what happened in these fights going into Monday. So stay tuned for that, for you to be able to see that. The only thing you have to do is drop a like, comment down below. I really want to hear from you. Let me know what your thoughts are on these upcoming fights. What do you think is going to be needed for any one of these fighters? Let's have a discussion. I would love to hear from you guys. And of course, if you have not subscribed to the channel as of yet and become part of the community here at Boxing Cafe, hey man, the only thing you have to do is click that red button, subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys on Monday's recap, and I'll see you guys at the fights, man. Enjoy tomorrow, man. It's going to be a freaking blast. All right, peace out.